I didn't mean to leave Undergrads for last week of MTVjanuary, but it's kind of fitting because Undergrads is not just my favorite MTV show ever, but it's also among my absolute favorite shows of all time. The series is incredibly funny, but it also tackles some of the more uncomfortable things about growing up, and I really respected it for it. The show is about four guys that has grown up together but is now attending different colleges while still tries to keep contact with each other, all while handling the oh so simple task of maturing. The main character is Nitz. He is the more responsible one out of the four. He is shy and somewhat sarcastic. He is also somewhat of a moral crusader, but unlike someone like, say, Kyle or Lisa Simpson, he is not always right, and it is in those moments when he is wrong that he grows as a person. For example, in the episode Traditions, Nitz is very much opposed to Exposed Expo, which is this college tradition where the freshmen gets naked and run around campus. But at the end, Nitz actually comes around and participate. Why? Because sometimes you need to make a fool of yourself. Sometimes you need to get your hands dirty if you're ever going to have some fun. Likewise, in the episode Drunks, Nitz refuses to drink and stays sober at the end of the episode. Does this make Nitz a hypocrite? No. It's important to establish that he didn't want to drink, but he did want to participate in the expo. That's another good message, I think. You can't let yourself be forced into doing something, you have to want to do it. Nitz's roommate is Cal, making him the only one of Nitz's old friends to attend the same college. Cal is a complete idiot with a thin vocabulary and drools a lot, and he is really funny. Sometimes he is so stupid that he doesn't even realize what a predicament he put himself in. Cal also has the most active sex life of all the guys. Almost all the girls at school have had sex with him at one point or another. Why do girls always fall for the stupid ones? Then there's my favorite character, Gimpy. I did a character file on this guy earlier this week, and if you want to know more about him, I recommend you checking it out. But here's a quick summation. He's a nerdy computer genius that never leaves his room, unless he absolutely has to. He is completely obsessed with Star Wars, and he has an army of geeks he calls his minions that follows his every order. Yeah, you do see why I love him so much, don't you? Another reason I like Gimpy is that he has such an odd lifestyle, but he still managed to make it work. And last but not least, there's Rocco, everybody's favorite drunken, violent frat boy. Rocco was not very smart, he was very aggressive, and yes, somewhat of a jerk. But he's one of those really funny jerks. He just seems to have a knack for saying the worst things at the worst of times, like when he broke up with his girlfriend. He said, "So, I'm breaking up with you so I can get laid by tons of shit at college. Oh, and happy birthday." He also hates Cal, probably because Cal gets all the girls. But he has shown to be very loyal and a very trusting friend to Nitz and Gimpy. Somewhat inconsiderate sometimes, but you can really see how much he cares about them. His only other friend is an alcohol-induced hallucination named Bobby Whiskey, which is both really funny and kind of sad. At heart, Rocco is just a lonely little boy. That means, well, he's just a bit, well, to be honest, stupid. The show's creator, Pete Williams, meant for the main characters to represent the different college stereotypes. Like the everyman, the nerd, the ladies' man, and the frat boy, but all four characters are very dimensional, and in one way or another you can relate to them. The show also had a lot of great supporting characters, like Jesse that almost became like a fifth member of the group. She is smart, cool, and somewhat reckless. She and Nitz started out as very good friends, but towards the end of the series she fell in love with him. Nitz's love interest is Kimmy, and a lot of the episodes are about Nitz trying to make Kimmy like him. She could easily just have been a cheap romantic foil, but the writers were actually smart enough to give her a personality. She is sweet, naive, and very nervous about her future. In the episode Financial Aid, she started a protest for an almost unreal cause. So it's possible she's just nice to feel important. I don't know if this makes her likable, but it makes her kind of interesting. Also, is it me, or is these one-man love triangles a running theme in these MTV cartoons? Like Nitz, Jessie has her own entourage. One of them, Brody, is a film critic that always talks about film trivia and has somewhat of an ego. I could so relate to this guy. The two other members in Jessie's gang is Kruger, a pessimist that constantly swears, and Dan, who never talks but always laughs whenever anybody makes a joke. I really liked these three guys, and I liked how much attention they got despite only being supporting characters. Another character I really liked was Doug, or the Dougler, who was the resident assistant at Nitz and Cal's college. He's very optimistic, even if he probably is the loneliest guy at campus. He often restrains himself from any immature behavior, which often leaves him alone. Then there's Mump, Gimpy's head minion. He is always willing to do whatever Gimpy tells him, but can also be very protective and aggressive about his close friendship with Gimpy. I think the main reason why I love this show so much is that it addressed things that we all grow up with but never wanted to talk about. For example, in the episode Roommates, Nitz starts wondering if he and Jessie are just friends or if they are something more. I went through the exact same thing, and I think many people that had a friend of the opposite gender in that age did ask those questions. But we didn't want to talk about it, cause it was too personal. Feelings can be hard to understand, and for many they are hard to define, and this show was so good at exploring that. The animation is also some of the best MTV ever showcased, and the odd character designs actually helped elevate the personality of these characters. The show had a lot of pop culture references. Of course, Gimpy quoted Star Wars a lot, and so on, but it didn't rely on it for the humor. Rather, it was used to create an atmosphere. There were always some popular music playing in the background, or you saw a poster of some modern film or band. This helped create an environment that felt very real and very contemporary. The last episode of Season 1 ended on a pretty sad note, at least for a show that was very often upbeat. Cal becomes the new resident assistant, so it worked out for him, I guess. But Gimpy moved out to an offshore military base, isolating himself even more. Kruger and Brody fails their exam big time, and after trying to find a new student resident, Rocco moves back to the frat boys that hates him. Nitz finally makes out with Kimmy, but the morning after he looks oddly disappointed. He runs into an angry Jessie that does not just confess her feelings for him, but also calls him a jerk, and storms off in anger. And the audience was frustrated that was the last episode of the entire freaking series. Yep, after only 13 episodes, the show was cancelled because of poor ratings. Since then, Pete William, the show's creator, has tried to pitch a continuation of the show to both Cartoon Network and Comedy Central, but nothing has fell through. Thankfully, William has opened an official bring back Undergrads' Facebook page for fans to show their support. I encourage anyone that is a fan of the series to click on the link below and give the webpage a thumb up, and maybe, just maybe, we can get a second season. If you haven't seen the show yet, you can see all the episodes on YouTube. In conclusion, Undergrads was not just an incredible show, but it's a show that the world needs. Whether you went to college or not, growing up was probably one of the hardest parts of your entire life, and this show understood that so well. No matter how wacky these characters was, they always felt real, and the situations they faced was things you had been through in one form or another, and you wanted them to succeed. If any show deserves a renewal, it's Undergrads. I hope you have enjoyed MTVjanuary as much as I have, and I will definitely do another one of these theme-related months on my channel later this year. Join me next week for my review of Silverfang. That will be my first review of an anime.